Hello and welcome. I'm your host, David, and I'm here with my good friend, Alfonso. Say hi, Alfonso.
Hi, Alfonso. Yeah.
We are here in sunny Germany. It's a rare sunny day here, so we figured we'd film today in Alfonso's backyard. Alfonso, how do we know each other?
We know each other from high school in Lassiter, yeah.
And specifically, we met on the football team.
Yeah.
Now, you were a exchange student from which country?
Spain.
And now, what provoked you to join the football team, the American football team?
Movies, I think, yeah. And
I know you're a big movie fan.
Yeah, I am. But in this case, several teenage movies, I think. But the one that at the time I remember was calling my attention, or just like the football thing, was the Remember the Titans.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
and you're a big movie fan, and you work in movies. Tell me about that.
I mean, the short version is that right now, well, since years I'm involved in the movie industry in Europe. Actually, we had a few projects with the US, but movie industry. And the long story is that everything started in the US, actually, also with theater. I was in the theater class. I was a little bit forced to be in the theater class because when I did my application for being a exchange student, I said I like theater. So my host family forced me to do it.
Okay.
But that was good. I mean, it was a nice class. It was fun. And that kind of like, I always like movies. I always daydream about movies and stories. And that was kind of like the spark also that started a little bit everything.
So you were a drama kid, and that put you on the path to working in film in Europe. So when you were on the American football team with me and my friends, we had a few characters in our group that love to give you a hard time. We really like to harass the foreign kid. One of the
I mean, you make it sound like bullying, but what's that bullying?
I know, like it was, we bullied you out of love. We bullied each other. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I don't think there was any targeting because we made fun of your foreignness, but it wasn't because you were, the foreign kid. Just like, I think we equally ripped on each other.
Yeah, so that's...
But one of the funniest things I remember was you just randomly coming up to us and being like, do you know this song, The Chain?
Oh my God, you make it
I know,
sound like
I'm doing like a Borat.
Yeah.
Do you know the song, The Chain, by Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah.
It is good song.
It's a good song.
We exaggerate your accent at the time, but it was funny as hell. We just erupted in laughter.
Yeah, the thing is, at the time, I mean, Fleetwood Mac is one of my mom's favorite bands, and like that, the Fleetwood Mac's Electric Light Orchestra,
yeah,
and that, all these kind of things. And at the time, I didn't really like it, but what it is true is that I don't know how it's now, but at the time also in Georgia, I would listen a lot to rock radio stations, and there was a lot of 70s, 80s rock and that. So kids had more oldies culture than in Spain, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was curious.
What are you currently working on?
Currently, I'm a little bit more like in my own projects, but like I told you, like when you say, hey, shall we meet? And I say, yeah. And I say, unfortunately, now I'm free. Because we had like a big project that we were involved for the last year and a half, let's say. And
a movie project.
Was a TV show, yeah.
A TV show.
It fell off. It didn't completely fail, but we kind of like, our partners in that project decided it was better to work with us in another project. So that kind of, we separated from that one, and that was a little bit shitty, but yeah. But we are working now in a new TV show, a bigger one actually. But
is that a common thing where you just basically have to plan for plans to fall through?
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking about that before. I think I don't have enough fingers in my body, like more than 20 projects that I've been involved, and they have like with no financing, or the cast completely separated, fell off, or that we ended up being was not the right project for us, but somebody else took it over, and in some of those cases, fortunately, ended up being like total failures. So oh shit, we dodged that one. But yeah, it's in the film industry, and more when you are not with a major studio, and that is really typical to work on speculation, and like that, have like 3 or 4 projects that you are working and trying to push them at the same time, and yeah. So
you're working on multiple projects, hoping one of them hits.
Yeah.
So Alfonso, you're living here in Germany. You're originally from one of the most beautiful places on earth, in Ibiza, Mallorca.
Oh,
Mallorca. Why are you living in this podunk little town in Germany?
Because of love. That's actually the only reason.
Because of love. You've always been a romantic person.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, man.
Your wife is, well, tell me about her. I mean, I know about her. Tell us about her.
No, my wife she's a teacher here in Germany. She works for the state. So we got to a point, we were like 2.5 years in a long distance relationship. And we got to a point that I had like a impasse, like a break between projects in Barcelona. And we said, okay, I want to do some things that I can do, like long distance home office, and you cannot move. So what do we do? And got to the point of, or we started deciding about breaking up, or I have to make a move or
make a decision.
Yeah.
And now you're here, and you have 3 beautiful children. I'm very happy for you, I think.
Thank you.
And 1 beautiful dog, Argos.
Argos, yeah.
I love his name.
The son, the dog of Ulysses. In Germany, in English is Ulysses? No.
Ulysses?
Ulysses, yeah. The story actually is pretty moving, because Argos waits for him, and when he gets back, he's really old, and he's the only one recognizing him in the island, and then he dies. So he's like faithful until the end, and then he dies. Kind of like a Hachiko kind of thing. But yeah, Greek times.
Well, he's a good dog.
Yeah.
He went running with us yesterday. It's really beautiful around here, at least for now. It's going to get cold and rainy and awful in a couple days. And you really want to move. I don't blame you. You want to move back to Mallorca. But there's not really any, the problem is, Spain, I guess in general, it's hard to find work there, right?
Spain is in some aspects is collapsing. I mean, the world is a little bit collapsing, but some places are doing it a little bit faster than others. And yeah, for example, we will see about retirement for us in other places, but in Spain, you can count the years probably until the system collapses.
Is there anything that you learned from being in the US, during your time in high school with us, that you brought back with you to Europe that changed you in any way?
One thing that was shocking is the at least in 2000, because I lived the 9/11 thing. Actually, 2 weeks prior to the terrorist attacks, I was in New York, in that area.
Oh yeah, you were with us in school.
Yeah, so I lived all the pickup trucks with huge American flags and all what that.
The patriotism that came after that.
The thing is, this patriotism from the States, I don't know how it's right now, but at the time, considering the situation, and that was really impressive to see it. And I got to a point for the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know if they still do it in high school.
I
But we used to, like,
think so.
before first period, you would have to do it.
Yeah, we had to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I always thought that was kind of weird, but
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I can tell. I mean, maybe it comes out of, like, you feel like it's taken out of a movie like Starship Troopers. You know that? But at one point, I ended up doing it also, and I'm like, "What the? How come I'm now standing up and doing the Pledge of Allegiance?"
Yeah,
and
you were just filled with American patriotism.
Yeah, and that's curious. I mean, and got to a point that I got to think or believe that you are not born an American, you get made an American. And that's what I think a lot of immigrants, like second generation or that are established in America, want to think about also.
Yeah.
That's why maybe also you Americans really like to check your lineage, your past, your roots outside of the US, like maybe, like you said, also together is your history.
Yeah. Americans are really obsessed with their ancestral origins. Yeah, everybody in America, when it's St. Patty's Day, people will come out and say, "Oh, I'm 15% Irish because of my great grandmother," or something like that. Everyone likes to share, like, "Oh, you know, I'm Italian and German and this and that." And Europeans, you just, you know, that's not a thing here, right?
No.
You just kind of live your lives, and you don't really have any kind of, you don't base a whole lot of your identity off of your ancestry, right?
No, I mean, usually it's your birthplace and where you're raised. That's
it.
That's basically, I mean, my family comes from different parts of Spain also. So, for example, I would say I'm second generation kind of from Mallorca. Like, my mom was born in Mallorca, but my dad not. And me and my sister were born in Mallorca. But I'm not, like, really also Mallorquin, because my family is like Spanish speakers, like Castellano, like the Span. But I don't know. It's usually the origins in Europe, we don't really care that much.
What do you like about living in Germany versus living in Spain?
When you go back home, you can get also a little bit of cultural shock. For example, what is good of Germany? Streets are way cleaner than in Spain. People usually are a little bit more organized in terms of planning.
People are on time.
Yeah, I mean, in Spanish also there's, on time. I could tell a few stories about people also here waiting weeks to show up.
Yeah.
The worst thing that I told you also, queue lines. If you are in Germany and you are waiting in a cashier or that in a supermarket to pay, and they open another line, go there as fast as you can, because if not a German, it doesn't matter if they are way behind you in the queue line, they will jump.
They'll jump right into the other line. They don't give a shit about waiting.
Yeah,
it's just chaos.
Yeah, that is.
It's surprising that the Germans are so organized and clean, and yet waiting in lines is something that they have not mastered. We went to Munster yesterday.
Yeah,
and we went into. It was a really cool city. We went into a game shop because you have a love for games, right?
Yeah.
Specifically?
Yeah. I was lucky enough that I lived in a
close community?
Close community, actually.
Yeah.
That would be the word. Where I had a few neighbors, kind of my age. And we used to play miniatures. I mean, video games also, but miniatures. And
miniatures like Warhammer?
Like Warhammer, yeah.
Okay. So you were early old school Warhammer.
Second edition. Like 1993, 4? I don't know. Yeah.
So you get these miniatures, you paint them yourself with tiny little brushes and tiny little paints.
Yeah, and
then those are your characters for the game. I'm just explaining it to. I already know what it is.
Yeah,
but,
I know you know.
um,
Yeah, but more. It's not like they are the things you're playing with. Like your characters, to me, sounds more like Dungeons and Dragons, where you are like that specific figure. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But
And they do have those versions.
it's like historical wargaming, but in a fictional setting. Yeah, it's basically that.
Yeah. I like to describe it kind of as like Risk, but with fantasy elements.
Yeah, and way more complicated.
And way more complicated. Yeah. So it's some real nerd shit that we're into here.
Yeah, but
and so they have gaming workshops in most major cities here. It's growing, right? It's a good time to be a nerd.
yeah, but what we saw also is it's good comics.
In comics.
I used to buy like the typical X-Men, that like great, big, huge X-Men fan here also, but from the old times, like the 92 show, like the. And now you're a little bit more free to express your nerdism. Freaks in English sounds weird.
Freak has more sexual connotation.
Yeah, because in Spanish we say freaky.
Yeah.
Freaky, but F-R.
Do you say it in a Spanish, like, you just say freaky?
Freaky.
Okay.
You say freaky.
Yo soy freaky?
Yo soy freaky. Yo soy freaky means you're a nerd.
Oh, okay. So, see, if you proclaimed in English, like, I'm freaky.
Yeah, I know. That sounds...
You know, that's whips and chains.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, no,
that's Rihanna.
That's not right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would scare away people if you just, but I guess, nerd culture is having its moment, and now it's not really nerdy anymore. It's just everyday escapism. Last topic for our discussion. As a father of 3, what are your thoughts on the current state of the world, and how are you going to navigate some of the challenges that we're facing?
Like, going back a little bit to the political thing, we are in some aspects more divided, and people are losing the capacity of doing critical thinking. And when we get to a point that critical thinking, checking facts, and comparing things makes you whatever you get called, I think we are in the wrong spot. Like, we live in a world, we are super connected, information is really available, but also can be altered. Like, it's coming out now info about the COVID situation and that. That if I want my kids to realize that can happen. Because, for example, here in, I don't know if you had that in the States, but we had here in Europe an app that was tracking you. Like if you were in contact with people with COVID or that.
I don't think we had any apps.
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge, apps tracking us.
Yeah, so basically you were allowing...
It wasn't tracking me.
I mean, the phone is tracking you anyway, but...
Yeah, I guess.
You were allowing a government app to track your activities, and the phones would get connected. And for example, if I would get COVID and inform my app, it would tell you. If you pass by me, if you like have contact with me, like you have been in contact with a person with COVID, or like, and it would detect how long have you been in contact in that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the thing is, maybe COVID at the end, I mean, the first weeks, I mean, in Europe were crazy. Like, really, I know I have a few friends, doctors, and they said the hospital were horrible. Like, people really dying. But maybe at the end, smooth out and was not that bad. But what I told my wife also is like that, this is a test to check, to control, to know what they can push. And that's what's going to happen, I think. We are being listened to, being controlled. So I don't know. That's a little bit the only thing that, and also kids have too much screen
time is a big issue. Yeah. I know a lot of my friends and viewers out there are parents, and they're all talking about the same things, I think. How best to navigate the world with their children and try and make it a better world, or at least as fun and good of a world as when we grew up, because I think that we grew up in probably one of the best times to ever grow up.
Yeah, and I mean, and going back to the miniature thing, sounds bad, but I'm using my kids also like to fuel my hobby, but also thinking that in the future I'm gonna play with them. And actually, the oldest one is now 8. Like this weekend, we're gonna play, and to get also another activity that maybe can be going hiking or whatever, but a playing activity that is social interaction with real human beings. I think it's important for kids.
It's really important.
Other than sports and
I'm sure it's tempting to just put an iPad in their hand and let them watch whatever, but you have to interact with your children and really show them how social interaction works as as they become adults.
No, man.
I know. I will say I am so proud, and I love how we were at the dinner table these past couple nights, and like your children can switch back and forth between. So you speak Spanish, and your wife speaks German, and then you will both speak English, correct?
Yeah.
And those kids can go back and forth between 3 languages like it's nothing, and it's incredibly, like, it's awesome to watch.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for putting it that way. I mean, it's mostly the oldest one, yeah, but it's like that. But the thing is, and that affected my German also, because I was with my wife 3 years, 2.5, 3 long distance relationship. When I came here, I said, sorry, I cannot start speaking German with you. Like that would have made my German way better. But we decided at the end to keep like that. Sometimes we say some words. I mean, when I speak with my wife, some words come out as German because it's what I daily use. Or sometimes also we have Spanish words. Like,
so your common language between you and your wife is English.
Yeah.
Does she speak Spanish or no?
She understands Spanish, yeah.
But she doesn't really speak it?
No, she can speak some words, yeah, but no. I speak way more German than she can speak Spanish, yeah.
So you could say that English really is your love language.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to go get some lunch. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Alfonso, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, David.
Well, actually, you're having me. I'm at your house, so thank you for having me. You've been a most gracious host.
My pleasure.